How $700 on Miami dinners actually blocks you from what you really want. When a guy has a high sex drive and he has money, and also he knows he's here for more, it can be a messy combination. I've lived in Medellin, Colombia 10 years now. I'm moving to Miami in a couple months. And how the cultures function in certain ways are similar. When you have money and you have status, you can do a lot more, which is nice. You can go on fun adventures, trips, dinners. And this video didn't roll by your feet by accident. I'm talking to a type of guy that knows he's here for something more. A type of guy who, even if he's dating several women, he knows there's a different depth to actually having sex. Maybe if we've only experienced that when we were kind of drunk or it was the right mix of drugs, but you know there's something more. You know there's something more to actually being probably the first person, possibly in your lineage, to break the chains, the enslavement of how men have been in the past. The kind of guy that can build an amazing relationship and a beautiful family. What can block us, paradoxically, is our access, is our status. You can live on 200 grand a year in Medellin, like you can live on $1 million a year in Miami. It goes really far down here. When you have that kind of money in Miami, you can afford fun things, you can afford the adventures, the $700 dinner we talked about. It can be very seductive for the male ego. No one talks about our sexual desire as an actual form of a vulnerability. Women view it as kind of a problem. Men view it as something that might get them in trouble, but we want it. But it's actually a form of vulnerability. And it can give us the illusion of safety, stoke our ego, pump us up, get a new watch, a new Lambo, new tattoos. Got these girls, or I'm dating this girl, then that girl. And it's actually a fearful part of us running away from what we want most and being seduced by the illusion. I remember I was at an ayahuasca ceremony many years ago. I'll never forget, this was like burned in my brain. And the facilitator said, you can serve God, another word for God, could be universe, or said even better, your truth, your deepest truth. Or you can serve the illusion. So you can serve God, truth, or the illusion. When we're seduced by our primal needs, we forget about the desires of the soul, the desires of the heart. And if we really gonna be honest, what a lot of us as men do, I've done this, we're actually not aware that we're dating women for validation, not just from those women, but how we're perceived on Instagram, social status. It's actually a little gay. Not like gay like having sex with other men, but if you think about it, it's a little gay. To know, if you were really to pull some stuff apart and dig in there inside yourself, that part of you is dating this hot chick for validation from your male friends, not just validation from her. Yeah, she's Colombian, she's Brazilian, it's hard not to date her or whatever. I get it. But it's validation from other men. And it can be validation from how we weren't really seen by our parents, especially our dad. Maybe our dad pushed us too much, and that's part of how we got successful. And there's this feeling in the background that it's never enough. There's never gonna be enough cars, watches, houses to win this cattywonk thing inside of us of earning dad's love. And it's confrontational as a man because we don't want to look at it. Women are going to tell their feelings about someone, believe you me. Ask anyone who does nails or cuts hair. They're practically life coaches or, therapists. But as men, we'll bottle up our pain. We'll keep it inside. I realized last year that my need for stimulants, which 15 years ago, was Adderall. Now it's coffee, some Mambe, which kind of has like a coffee-like effect. It was actually me putting on armor to not feel. If you're watching almost 6 minutes in, you're that type of guy. You're a guy that knows there's something more. Even if you can't describe it, you can't intellectualize it, you can't create a 7-step process to make sense of it, it's a knowing inside of you. And it's not something I can give you. It's not something someone else can give you. It's not something you can get at a seminar or the next podcast. It's something inside you that knows you're here for more. And the kind of guys that come to me will come wanting to build that relationship, wanting to build that family, and having something in them where they know there's something more to sex. When you've made love for an hour, 2, 3, 4, it's easier than you think. It takes a little practice, but it's easier than you think. And you see a woman like you've never seen a woman in your life, even when you took Molly or whatever, or you see energy move through a woman's body like she just smoked bufo, you start to believe that there's more to this making love thing. There's a different level of pleasure. There's a different level of depth. There's a different level of connection. There's a different level of healing. And until you've had it or had it somewhat consistently, it's kind of just an idea. When you have this status, when you have this money, it can block us with distractions. And it's kind of a funny thing because it's like you have higher quality problems. The dude making $100,000 a year in Miami, he probably can't really shop at Whole Foods as much as he wants to. Or he has to live in, far away to be able to do it. But when you're making solid money, when you're taking women out for $700 dinners, you have all this access. And I see it and I've watched it, I've done it, I've watched it with my friends. It's the same pattern. It doesn't have to be the same city, but the pattern is the same. Here in Medellin, depending on what year they were here, you get the gringo effect, so it's just like you're exotic just by having blonde hair or blue eyes or whatever. And the money can be the biggest trap. I read Dan Bilzerian's autobiography years ago. It's like my weird thing to read after a breakup 5 or 6 years ago. And he talked about, I think it was 3 things, or bottomless pits as he called it. Money, sometimes we don't consider that one. Drugs, you should consider that one. And women. And if you're the kind of guy that resonates with this message, that knows there's something more inside of you in life and building a partnership of having like a legacy, being a founding father of the new earth, to be the first generation that broke fairly unhealthy or really fucking unhealthy relationships, and to build a family from a place of strength, power, love, knowing who the fuck you are, and having a kid that knows his dad will be by his side, that he'll never abandon him, and his dad knows who he is and he's fucking living life. If you're that kind of guy, then I would ask you, how bad does it need to get from the $700 dinners in Miami? Because when you're on this path and there's a deeper calling in your heart and your soul, eventually you get to a point where problems start showing up. For me, it was drugs and women. And then it was kind of slowing down. I got in my sex club phase and having a sex club breakup at 3 a.m. in Colombia. That was a low point. That was a low point. I knew that there was more. A few months, we broke up in March of that year. In December, I was just knowing that I really needed to stop this behavior, and I knew I wanted more. I knew I wanted a partner that I was just wild about on every level. On an animal level and like a heart level, which we often separate. However, when you integrate yourself as a man, those two things kind of wash away because it's just you. And I knew I wanted more, and all these bad things started showing up. So what if renting or owning or whatever, your Lambo, your Rolex, or renting, if you don't want to call it that, Richard Mille, and the $700 dinner is actually taking you much further away from who you actually are? And I'll leave you with this. If the bad things don't happen, which they generally will, if you believe in that sort of thing, that your soul has a calling, it's like your soul is hoping your life gets fucked up so you can wake up. As someone who's fucked many things up, screwed many things up, and had these kind of come to Jesus moments, you'll just start feeling more pain. Maybe you don't have a sex club breakup. It's a little intense. But you'll start feeling more pain. You'll start feeling more emptiness. And sometimes the more money you have, the worse it can get, because you can just up the ante. I challenge you to look for the answers that are truly in your heart. Go be that. Go do that.